Welcome to the Upstate CFO Council. This organization was founded in 2019 by Robert Bendetti in order to provide a networking and educational forum for senior financial executives to share best practices, to discuss current financial issues, and to learn about current topics related to the performance of their job.
Good morning, Jim. How are you doing today?
Doing very well, thank you.
Thank you so much for doing this. I'm excited to get to talk to you. And you're looking professional, man. Before we started, I told you got the jacket on, fully shaven, very professional.
Yes, I thought I should put a jacket on.
Well, you look great. Let's get started. Find a little something. I wasn't able to find much on the internet, but I did find one interesting thing that I wanted to ask you about. Is so Jim Fisher is the VP of Finance, University of Wisconsin, Oshkosh. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Well, you got to tell me a little bit about that. Why Wisconsin?
Well, I grew up in Wisconsin. I've actually spent my life moving fairly frequently, even before I was an adult. And so I grew up in and out of Wisconsin, and it was just a natural place to gravitate towards, not far from where I grew up in the Neenah Appleton area.
What brought you from Wisconsin to lovely South Carolina?
About 10 other stops. As I said, I've probably moved every 3 years of my life on average, mainly because of work. And so I actually lived in Florida, where I worked for Stanley Black & Decker prior to coming here. And I was fortunate to have worked with the person who is the corporate controller for Hubble. He was the assistant corporate controller for Stanley Black & Decker. And, it's the first time actually in my career where I found a job through a connection, but it was the right move for me at the time. And that's how it happened.
Well, welcome to South Carolina. Question number one is, what is your favorite business book and why?
Okay, so I'm probably not going to answer this question the way people would expect. I really don't read a lot of business books, and I don't have one to pick. It's been a little while since I've read them. I do read a lot of other things, anything from social history to economics, novels, things like this. And so I've always thought that I learned things from those types of books that I translate into my business world too. So I know it's not a great answer, I thought this was going to be the hardest question because it's almost taboo to mention something like that, but I don't have a bookshelf of 7 habits or these types of things, and I certainly don't think that the way I do it is for everybody, but I've always learned by taking experiences from different places and translating them into the world that I'm in. And so I do read a lot, and so I kind of like to read what I like.
Question number two, what is the best advice you've ever received?
Yeah, so I had to think about that one a little bit. I've certainly received a bunch of advice over time. I think the best advice probably came from my father, who worked in a similar profession throughout his career. And it's really that you have to learn to manage your career yourself. And it comes from understanding your value and how you increase your value by learning different things, trying different experiences, being open to it, and then really go out and find those opportunities yourself as opposed to waiting for people to have them brought to you.
Question number three, what is a new tool or a new habit that you've recently started doing that you found beneficial?
Sure. So for me, it's fairly recent. I have become a complete electronic note taker. It's recent, I will say, as of a couple of years, so it's not so recent, I guess. But it's been a big impact. Where like many people, I would go from meeting to meeting with my notebook. I would write scurrilously things down on it, and then I would throw it in a drawer and never look at it again. Exactly. So I think some people are very good note takers because they go back and review their notes and annotate them. I am horrible at that, so I never did that. So I've been using Microsoft Notes for the last 2 years, And so I do have to apologize for typing during meetings a lot. Tell people I'm an electronic note taker, but for the way I think and the way my habits work, it's very powerful for me because my notes are all in bullet points. I can read it like I could never read my own handwriting. And I actually do go back and look at them more, I think, than just throwing them in a drawer like I always did before.
That would be way easier to find stuff if I could just Control F instead of,
True. And I think that for me, it's always worked better. I'm not a good paper person. One other thing with that, by the way, that I discovered, because I did use OneNote prior to that, or not OneNote, I forgot the other product, I forget it. But anyway, with notes, you can actually tag them just like you would flag your emails, and it'll show up in your Outlook. So you have an entire to-do list of all the notes you have that you flagged and all the emails you have to follow up on. So that's my organizing way of doing things.
Great tip. The best part of your current job?
So I've only officially started my current job, I guess, about 6 or 7 weeks ago, although I was doing it as an interim for several months. So I think as the VP of Finance for Hubble Lighting, one of the things I like that is different than the previous role I had as a controller or even some other roles is I really get to be part of the team running the business now right at the front lines. I've had similar experiences that in the past, but maybe not exactly the same. What I like is I get to be involved more in the strategy of where we're going. Our industry has had a lot of upheaval over the last 4 or 5 years, definitely from some of the technology changes that have happened. And so we're really embarking upon a very more than a regular annual type of strategy exercise. And that type of thing for me is very exciting. You certainly have to do the day-to-day things, but it's fun to really get a chance to help shape where you're going to go as a business.
Fantastic. That sounds awesome. And congrats on the promotion. I saw it on LinkedIn. That's fantastic. Well deserved. What's something personal something about yourself that you'd like to share that I haven't mentioned before, or maybe we don't know?
Yeah, so I think as we talked a little bit before, I've moved very frequently in my life. So I've lived in, I think, 10 different states and 4 different countries, and including Canada for a couple of years as a child, Italy for a short period of time, and Spain for a couple of years, and of course the United States. And so it has really sort of given me all sorts of different experiences, really broadened my horizons and how I think about things. And it's been an absolute delight to meet people from different countries, see our country from other people's eyes. So that has been a part of my life that I've really liked. It wasn't always easy. And actually, strangely enough, I don't work very internationally now. We're more of a North America business than global business, but I have really enjoyed that part, and like I said, it's been an absolute big part of who I am today is having those experiences.
Fantastic. Last question, Jim. What is something I should have asked you, but I didn't? And what's the answer to that?
Sure. So I think the question I would have asked is how have you been able to help others in their careers as coming up through the ranks and getting advice? And I would say that I think first of all I'm gonna cheat since I asked the question. I'll just answer it how I want. But I think I was surprised at some point in my career when I became a manager how much I really enjoyed helping other people through their careers. I never thought of myself as that type of person before, but I can think of several people who I've kept in contact, even when I've gone to different companies, and we still come back and talk, and it's been good to serve as a mentor, I guess, an old wise man in some respects, to give some of the experiences I've had. And then I think what goes along with that too is one of the things that I've learned, and I could have answered your other question that way too, is really to learn how to listen to people and not just give them direct advice. I wish I learned this with my children much earlier than I did now, but the idea is to really listen to people and and then ask them questions and suggest sort of things they should think about instead of just telling them how to do something.
So true. Jim, well, I certainly learned a lot today, not only about you, but some new tips and tricks. I got to check out that notes tool. I flashed this while you were talking. These binders for about 20 years, and harder and harder to find the hardcover. But you can teach an old dog new tricks, so I'm going to check out that note-taking tool that you mentioned. So thank you for that.
No, yes. Well, if it works for you, it works. I said I think I do these things differently than others, but I was a horrible note taker, so it's easier for me this way.
Well, thank you very much, Jim. I hope you have an awesome day.
You too. Thank you.